They say a man's true strength isn't measured by how much he can take, but by what he refuses to tolerate. When she speaks words that cut through your dignity, that moment defines who you are. Because silence can cost you your peace, your purpose, and your soul. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." There are moments when a woman says something that should make you stop everything. These aren't harmless words. They reveal exactly how she sees you, and whether she truly respects you or not. Too many men today are chained not by handcuffs, but by emotions. They stay in relationships where they're not valued, respected, or even liked. They keep giving, hoping love will fix what was never theirs to fix. Seneca warned us, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." Yet many men suffer endlessly because they mistake endurance for strength. Imagine a man constantly proving his loyalty and kindness, while she grows colder and distant. He tells himself he's doing the right thing. But the truth is, he's teaching her that his boundaries don't exist. A woman who truly respects you will never use words that strip away your dignity. Her tone, her presence, everything she says comes from respect, not dominance. When she crosses that line and you stay, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in emotional chaos. You lose focus, purpose, and the quiet strength that defines your masculinity. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When she challenges your self-worth, your reaction defines your future. Don't argue. Don't beg. Don't prove your value. Walk away with calm, dignity, and purpose. Because the man who knows when to leave is the man who never loses himself. There's one phrase every man should recognize as a breaking point. "I don't owe you anything." Those words don't just reveal attitude, they expose a mindset with no respect for reciprocity. A relationship without shared responsibility becomes a battlefield where only one side gives, while the other takes without gratitude. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." But even the best man cannot build something meaningful with someone who feels no accountability toward him. Imagine this. You're always there for her, listening when she cries, helping when she's stressed, showing up every time she calls. Then one day, you ask for something simple, effort, communication, or appreciation. And she looks at you and says, "I don't owe you anything." In that moment, everything becomes clear. You're not in a partnership. You're in a transaction. She's collecting your energy, your time, your kindness, without ever intending to give anything back. Seneca warned us, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." Many men desire connections so deeply that they ignore reality. They stay, hoping she'll change, even when the truth is obvious. A woman who values you doesn't use love as leverage. She meets effort with gratitude, not entitlement. She knows healthy relationships are built on balance, giving and receiving, respecting and being respected. Epictetus said, "If someone treats you poorly, remember this. They act that way because they think it's right. So when she says she owes you nothing, believe her. Don't explain, don't debate, walk away. Because staying with someone who denies the basic give and take of love isn't loyalty, it's self-abandonment. And a man who abandons himself for love ends up losing both." When a woman says, "That's just how I am," most men think it's harmless. But behind those words lies a warning. It's not honesty, it's resistance. What she's really saying is, "I don't plan to change," Marcus Aurelius wrote. "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." Tolerance doesn't mean accepting disrespect. When someone refuses to grow, they're already telling you the relationship has reached its ceiling. Imagine a man named David. He's patient, loyal, and understanding. Every time his girlfriend snaps, ignores his needs, or crosses a line, she dismisses it with, "That's just how I am." At first, he excuses it, thinking love means acceptance. But soon, her excuses become permission to stay the same while he's the one constantly adjusting. Seneca said, "No man is free who is a slave to his passions." When a woman uses her personality as an excuse for cruelty or emotional chaos, she's enslaved to her ego and she expects you to live there with her. A healthy relationship is not about perfection. It's about willingness, the courage to self-reflect and grow together. A woman who values you will say, "You're right. I could have handled that better. Not that's just how I am." Epictetus reminded us, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If she refuses to see her flaws, there's no room for evolution, only repetition. And you'll find yourself trapped in the same argument, losing a piece of yourself every time you stay silent to keep the peace. The truth is, she doesn't want a partner. She wants a mirror that never challenges her reflection. And a man who keeps accepting this behavior slowly becomes smaller, quieter, and weaker. So when you hear those words, "That's just how I am," understand what they mean. The relationship has stopped growing. And when growth stops, love suffocates. Walk away, not in anger, but in clarity. Because a man who values his peace never bargains with chaos. When a woman says, "I want a man who can handle me," it may sound like confidence. But beneath the surface, it's often a test away to see how far she can push your limits. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. True power isn't about handling chaos. It's about refusing to be ruled by it. Women who say this rarely mean partnership. They mean, "I want to see how much I can get away with." They disguise emotional instability as independence and turn conflict into a measure of your patience. Imagine this. You start dating a woman who's exciting and passionate. At first, her energy feels magnetic, but over time, every disagreement becomes a storm. She provokes, withdraws, and then tests how far she can push before you break. And when you finally set a boundary, she says, "If you can't handle me, you're not man enough." That's not strength, that's manipulation. Seneca once said, "He who controls his anger controls his greatest enemy." A real man doesn't prove his worth by surviving emotional chaos. He proves it by staying calm, grounded, and in control of himself. A mature woman doesn't test your patience. She protects your peace. She doesn't create storms to see if you'll survive. She helps calm them because she values balance. Epictetus reminded us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you let her drag you into endless emotional games, you lose mastery. You become reactive instead of resolute. You're not meant to handle a woman who thrives on drama. You're meant to lead with calm strength, to walk away from anything that threatens your peace. Because a real man doesn't handle disrespect, he recognizes it, and he leaves it behind. When a woman says, "You're too emotional," she's not giving feedback, she's trying to silence you. It's not your emotion she fears, it's your clarity. Because a calm, self-aware man cannot be controlled. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." When someone tries to twist your strength into weakness, don't react with anger. Stay composed. Your calm is your power. Most men don't explode, they endure. They stay silent until the pain builds up. And when they finally speak, she says they're too emotional. But expressing yourself with calm honesty isn't weakness, it's mastery. Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to speak truth with composure and walk away with dignity. Imagine this. You calmly tell her that her words cut deep. Instead of listening, she rolls her eyes and says, "You're overreacting. It's not communication." She shifts blame to avoid responsibility, and if you accept that, you teach her that your feelings don't matter. Epictetus taught, when someone does you wrong, remember that he acts according to what he thinks is right. When she weaponizes your emotions, it's not your weakness, it's her avoidance of truth. A strong man doesn't suppress his emotions, he channels them. He stays steady when others try to shake him. He doesn't explain his masculinity or beg for validation. You are not too emotional, you're just too aware for someone who lives in denial. So when she throws that line at you, don't argue. Stay silent, stay centered. And let your peace remind her that a man who masters his emotions can never be mastered by anyone else. When a woman says, "You're insecure for thinking that," it's rarely about your insecurity, It's about her avoiding accountability. It's a tactic to make you doubt your instincts and question your worth. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When she uses your emotions against you, she's not speaking truth. She's using manipulation to protect herself. Imagine this. You calmly express a boundary or ask about something that feels off. Instead of listening, she flips it. You're just insecure. Now you're defending yourself instead of the truth. That's how power is lost, not in anger, but in distraction. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom in relationships doesn't come from never feeling doubt. It comes from not being ruled by it. A confident man doesn't beg to be understood. He stands firm in what he knows is right. There's a difference between being emotional and being aware. You're not weak for wanting clarity or wise for seeking truth. When someone shames you for asking honest questions, they're protecting their lies, not your peace. Epictetus said, "No man is disturbed by things, but by the view he takes of them." So when she calls you insecure, don't fight the label. See it for what it is, projection. Her reaction reveals her guilt, not your flaw. A strong man doesn't defend his calm. He listens, observes, and when manipulation appears, he walks away. Because a stoic man knows peace isn't found in proving your innocence, it's found in refusing to be pulled into confusion. You're not insecure for noticing dishonesty. You're awake, and that's something no manipulator can control. When she says, "If you really loved me, you would understand this," it's not love speaking, it's control. That phrase isn't about affection. It's about manipulation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Love should never demand that you surrender your peace to prove your devotion. Imagine this. You've given her time, loyalty, and presence. But when you set a boundary, she guilt trips you. "If you really loved me, you would." In that moment, she's not asking for love. She's asking for submission. You're no longer a partner, you're a performer, proving your worth with compliance. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And in love, freedom means the ability to say no without fear. If your refusal becomes proof that you don't care, that's not love, it's emotional blackmail. Real love doesn't twist your emotions into tools for control. It listens, understands, and respects. When someone uses guilt to get their way, they're not building connection, they're maintaining power. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The moment you let guilt dictate your actions, you lose mastery over your own life. You begin betraying your values just to keep the illusion of harmony. A woman who truly loves you won't say, "If you loved me, you would." She'd say, "If you love me, let's understand each other." It's because love that respects you doesn't manipulate, it cooperates. So when you hear those words, pause. Recognize the trap. Walk away, not in anger, but in clarity. Because the man who chooses peace over pressure is the man who truly understands love. Most men stay in toxic relationships not because they can't leave, but because they're afraid to. Afraid of being alone, judged, or forgotten. But staying where you're disrespected is far lonelier than walking alone in peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If your mind is trapped in guilt and fear, you're not in love, you're imprisoned by it. Imagine this. A man keeps giving, forgiving, and hoping his patience will fix what's broken. Every time he sets a boundary, she turns it into a weapon. He confuses pain with passion, believing love must hurt to be real. That's not strength, that's self-abandonment. Seneca warned, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The fear of being alone traps many men in relationships that drain their soul. You can't heal in the same environment that breaks you. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Walking away doesn't mean you're cold. It means you've mastered your emotions. You don't need to argue or prove your point. Silence itself becomes your closure. A real man doesn't chase validation. He protects his peace. He doesn't beg for love. He lives with purpose, discipline, and clarity. So if you find yourself surrounded by manipulation or disrespect, Remember this: leaving isn't losing, it's returning to yourself. Because the man who walks away calmly doesn't lose the woman. He finds himself again. At some point, every man must face a hard truth. Peace isn't found in fixing others, it's found in freeing yourself. When you walk away from disrespect, you're not giving up on love. You're letting go of what no longer aligns with your soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you stop chasing what disturbs your peace, you begin to reclaim your strength. Imagine a man who stays, hoping his patience will turn chaos into calm. He sacrifices rest, purpose, and self-respect just to keep something already fading. But when he finally chooses silence over argument and distance over drama, everything changes. He doesn't lose her, he finds himself again. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Courage isn't fighting for what drains you. It's walking away with grace. Freedom doesn't roar, it's quiet, steady, and self-assured. Epictetus taught, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When you stop trying to change others, you open yourself to wisdom. You learn that real power is calm, not loud. A man who controls his reactions controls his destiny. So when life challenges you to let go, remember leaving isn't weakness. It's strength in its purest form. Because a man who walks away from chaos isn't escaping, he's evolving. In the end, the greatest victory isn't conquering others. It's mastering yourself,